Proctophilia was the term. Now, proctophilia. I'm gonna give y'all a second to see if y'all can guess what that is. Religion and just so many different things. There are so many times where people are having a really really hard time to just be in the pleasure and enjoy it, especially if being a woman in America and dealing with majority of the time sex being seen. How do you define the lifestyle?
Okay, yeah. So you can think of the lifestyle itself as an umbrella term. And within that umbrella, there are different categories. So BDSM, things of that nature. The swinging aspect, which is what we're here talking about today, is a form of E&M, ethical non-monogamy, where couples, majority of the time couples, are going to interact and play and engage sexually with other couples. Of course, with permission and established boundaries and rules and things that...
Especially those of us that have been rooting our sexuality in shame, to really evolve your consciousness and see how kink can be used.
You've entered the queendom. Unfiltered talk about life, love, sex, and the beauty of BDSM in the BIPOC community. This is where passion meets power and every conversation pushes past the surface. Your pleasure education starts now.
What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? Welcome in. Thank you so much, Doc U Rock, for joining us for this wonderful conversation around trauma and kink. Okay, y'all, we gonna get straight into it. We ain't even gonna hold y'all. I know y'all ain't seen me in a minute. Love y'all, mean it. Y'all know how we do over here. Just okay. All right. So, first, let me let you tell the people about yourself, and then I'm gonna show the video, and then we're gonna get into the conversation.
Well, I'm only gonna say a little bit because we're gonna let the little clip tell most of the story. But I'm Dr. Leonard A. Rockman, aka Dr. Rock. If people want to know my bona fides, I'll run down them really quickly. So I got my doctorate in clinical sexology. I'm a licensed sex therapist, kink conscious, educator. I used to work in CPS, Chicago Public School System, for a bit. So working within teens. I write, speak, do stuff like this, right? And I dance in the intersection of trauma, kink, culture, intersectionality, and starting with what does it look like to have a resource and or space specifically for Black women who have had body-based trauma is really where I'm coming from. So, yeah.
I love that. All right, y'all. So let's get into the video that I was blessed enough to see to find this beautiful person. So we're going to go ahead and get straight into that and let y'all know what the real tea is.
Called Trauma as a Gateway, Kink as a Bridge, right? So trauma...
Oh, shit, that's a good title! We need to pause on that for a minute. Yeah. Trauma is a gateway, kink is a bridge.
Yeah,
okay,
trauma as a gateway.
Could you just explain the title and what that means?
Yeah, so for some folks, trauma can be a gateway to kink, whether or not something that happened to you later on found that same thing turned you on. Mm-hmm. Whether or not what happened to you, you're now navigating that through kink as a way to now have some control. Whether or not something that happened to you, you're now replaying that same thing and re-traumatizing yourself, right? Because what I found is that when we were wanting to destigmatize kink, and a lot of it's like, okay, people who are kinky are not more traumatized than others. Valid. That does not mean that sometimes those two aren't connected. You don't want people to begin to think that it's trauma that's causing kink, but for some people it does. And we don't want to minimize that experience because we're trying not to, to re-stigmatize. So that was the reason why I wanted to have this conversation. Is for those people who does, you still matter. Does that mean that you're less kinky? Because it's data. It's just fucking data. We don't have to make it something else. We just get to know that this is a part of your story. Now, what do we want to do with that information? It's funny because...
Okay, so this is a topic that we have touched on in several different ways, several different episodes here on the Queendom, but also is something that I find extremely interesting that I realized in my journey of kink and BDSM and learning the things that I like and I don't like. And then also like you said, that bridge that you start to realize. For example, and I've talked about this on the show before, you know, I personally, I like impact play. I like choking. I like, you know, things of that nature, breath play, things of that nature. But I've also experienced those things in an abusive manner. And it's such for lack of a better, well, I ain't gonna say lack of a better term, but just to be extremely, it's almost a mind fuck in the moment that you realize that the connection between the two almost. Because on one part, you're like, how is it that my body is responding pleasurably to something at one point? I had nothing but pure pain, fear, anger, like all these other categorized negative emotions too. So tell me how did you get to this point of this conversation? And then also, why is it so important to you?
Well, a lot of it is because, like you said, it's a mind fuck, and there's a lot of shame around it, right? And a lot of people don't want to have the conversation because shame keeps us silent versus us having the conversation and getting it out. And our brains and our bodies are very adaptive, right? Like, if there's something that's hurtful, if there's something we're struggling with, our brains figure out a way to make it more digestible, to make it easier to navigate. So it kind of makes sense that we take something that might have been painful or hurtful or scary, and we repackage it in a way that makes it easier for us to deal with. You know, I got here doing this type of work because, like I said, I have my own history of sexual trauma, right? I've talked about my own story as well. And when I was doing my research for my doctorate, my goal was to figure out how can I create a resource or something for Black women who have had body-based trauma, whether or not it's sexual, DV, something, right? And help us to reconnect with our bodies, because a lot of Black women walking around and we're disconnected from our bodies. We got stress, we high functioning depressive, we dying and shit, high blood pressure, all of the fucking things. And because we don't feel like our body is a safe space, right? And a lot of the time we don't feel like our body is a safe space is because what has been done to it. And I wanted to figure out how can we get back in our body and have a better relationship with it. So I'm doing the research, I'm looking. And wait, before that, so as a kink conscious sex therapist, part of my training, I went to San Francisco, I went to some dungeons, went to some play parties. So I'm in the dungeon. First of all, very few people look like us, right? You know,
if that ain't the realest thing.
I'm just saying, I'm in San Francisco. Very little people look like us, but I'm in here, right? So I'm in here, I'm paying attention, and I'm like, people are letting some shit go in here. Like, I can feel the catharsis. Like, people are letting some shit go, and I'm like, I want some of that. We deserve some of this. Whatever's happening here, whatever they're letting go, I wonder if I can take that and make it applicable to people who look like me so that we can have a better relationship with our body. So that's where it all started. I'm in this dungeon. I'm seeing people are having some type of catharsis. I'm still dealing with all this anger and rage in my own body. Like, intellectually, I know what it is, but it ain't helping me feel better in my body, though, right? You can know the things, but it's not translating. So I'm like, man, I wonder if this BDSM thing can be a way for us to get back in the body by curating scenes specifically to our therapeutic needs. And that's kind of where it all began. Yeah.
You know, I resonate with that so much. That's somewhat of how this show started. The opportunity for the show was offered to me by someone, but the reason why I agreed is because of that, a very similar situation. I was a sexual health educator and pure romance consultant for many years. And it was because of one of my pure romance sisters, a white woman, who she is the one who introduced me to BDSM. And I started going to the dungeon, going to the classes and all the things. And baby, the only spec in there, you hear me? In Florida, in Central Florida. Okay, the only spec. And I was like, I felt the same thing, especially watching someone go through impact play, very specifically impact play. You could feel the release that they were having, and not even just in a sexual manner.
Right.
It's just a release of emotions. And I started, it made me ask questions, because every class I went to, every time I went into a dungeon or any of these places, it was, if there were any other Black people, it was literally maybe 3 of us at the most. At one time, there was never a lot of us. But there were things that were being talked about that I was like, I feel like that's for cultural reasons, historical reasons. I don't think that's going to work over here. And so as I started to grow on TikTok, I started finding other Black kinksters and BDSM and people that were in different parts of the lifestyle. And I found community in being able to be like, okay, now this information is making sense to me. I can understand how this breaks down. And I was like, I want more people to experience this. I want more of us. So first off, because 9 times out of 10, when you talk to someone who is not super familiar with the lifestyle, the first thing they say is that's some white folk shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, but it's really not. What you are used to seeing because of what's been portrayed in media is why you feel like it's some white folk shit. But there are so many facets to BDSM, to kink, that it's not a monolith. It's so many facets to it. And it can be so healing and so just rejuvenating to you in so many different ways. And I also wish more therapists were kink conscious, even just to have the information about it. Because for someone who has been able to find healing via kink and via BDSM, to go into a therapy session and talk to somebody who doesn't understand it, it is so disheartening.
Well, I'm putting the work in. I teach therapists, so I'm putting the work in for us. So I'm teaching them.
I appreciate it so much. I definitely do. So for someone who might be dealing with some things and they're thinking about putting their foot into the world of BDSM and kink to see if this can help them through whatever it is that they're trying to get through, what are some key things that you think they should take into consideration when starting the journey?
Oh, that's a good question. A few things. Hopefully they have someone they already know and trust who's already in the community, who can be like a mentor, a guide, right? If they can avoid jumping in by themselves, I would. If they are solo and they're navigating this by themselves, I would go to the munches, right? I would go and be a part of the community and see what's what. I would collect data. Like, that's always how my mind works. Before you jump in, go watch, right? Go visit. You know, if you're going to go to like a dungeon, don't go with the expectation of playing, go with the expectation of seeing, does your body even feel good in the space, right? Like, if you go into the room, do you energetically feel like, all right, this is a place, you know, I feel good in. But if you go in and your body like, oh, what the fuck? You know what I mean? That's something to pause and ask yourself, like, why am I not even vibing with this energy? You know, before I start taking off clothes or being vulnerable in this space, do I even feel good in it? Get educated, right? You know what I mean? A lot of people don't even want to invest in, whether or not that's your time, money, or whatever, into getting educated about it, right? You know, take some classes and learn, right? And then you can also, so if you're going into it and you want to experience a certain sensation, that's the thing. What do you want to experience? Right? People go in and they have no idea, like, do you want to try different sensation? Are you going in because you're thinking about a power dynamic? Are you going in because this is some new shit and you think it might be fun? Are you going in it because you're thinking this might be like some long lost thing that you've been craving that you now want to try? Like, what's your goal? What's your intention? And do a lot of self-work. A lot of people go into these spaces and they have no level of self-awareness, right? You know, and so if you're not aware of your triggers, if you're not aware of what it looks like if you're activated, if you're not aware of the type of energy you even want to be around, as far as the person you might want to top you, like, are you going in to get topped? Do you know the difference between the top and the bottom? Like, what the fuck? There's so much that people need to know, like just those basic things. Are you going in there because you want to top someone else? Like, what do you want? So all I can say, what's your intention? Go and do research first. Take some classes, some real basic etiquette, consent. How do you negotiate? How do you vet? And if possible, go with a buddy. That's what I would say.
Perfect. So a while back, I had Coach Feline. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Coach Feline. I would hope. Okay, I was about to say, with this being the topic, I feel like you are absolutely beautiful soul. And of course, I made sure to get the ebook for TIC, Trauma Informed Consent, kink, which I think is absolutely amazing. It is for anybody who's interested in getting it. I will tell you, it is an extensive book, but it is so packed with knowledge and information about this very specific thing, and being able to practice kink in a safe way while acknowledging, one, the trauma that you may be bringing to kink, but also the trauma that can happen. I have talked to people who have come into the kink space and ended up being traumatized because they were partnered with the wrong person, or they were partnered with a person who had little to no knowledge of what they were actually doing. And that trauma is not just physical, that trauma is also mental and emotional, because the level of vulnerability that you have to be able to get, this is not just we're gonna be cute in the bedroom and I'm gonna let you spank my ass. That's not what this is. We're talking about full-on vulnerability in a person having the responsibility of your safety and care in their hand. But also, like you said, being very aware of yourself and what your kink, and what your triggers and things of that nature are. It's a two-way street. It's not necessarily just that person is responsible for everything. You are also responsible for your things as well.
Yes.
So I think one of the things that I have found most interesting about the journey of hey everybody in the comments too. Sorry y'all, because we is in this conversation. But I think one of the most interesting things that I have found is, and I don't know if it's necessarily a subspace thing or anything like that, but there is this moment after all the things have happened. And sometimes it's well after. It's not even an immediate thing, but it's the your body fully processing and like working through the things that you just did. And I think the easiest way I can explain it.
Are you talking about drop?
Well, not just a drop, but so for me, it was almost like I could physically feel my brain rewriting the connection. You know what I'm saying? So like I was saying earlier, as someone who has been traumatized via a person trying to choke them versus a person now who has experienced pleasure from that, it's this very interesting thing of like your brain rewiring the sensations.
Yes.
And I don't know I hope that makes sense to y'all, because it is a very interesting thing. And for me, I know I went through a good little period of really trying to reconcile it within myself and trying to understand how did we get here? How did I get from something that caused me so much pain, so much trauma, and like literally scarred me for a number of reasons, which is a whole nother conversation for another day, to the point of not only something that I found pleasure in, but something that I also then started to desire. And yeah,
I'm just thinking about it. So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that the person you engage with is someone you trust.
The now choking, yes.
Right. Yes. Right. So, I mean, when you think about it, you're now engaging in a activity that a lot of it is control, right? A lot of times, like if we think about someone who was sexually abused, right? And a lot of times they could be hyper, they go out and they have a lot of sex, or hypo, right? It's a form of control. You know what I mean? It's like, my body was used in a way that I didn't consent to, so I'm about to go and do what the fuck I want to with this body in order to regain control. And so if we think about we were exposed to a sensation that we did not choose, your mind is so adaptive. And so now you end up in a situation where you're experiencing that same sensation under very different circumstances, right? So if you think about the fact that you've taken this sensation and you have picked it up and you removed it and you put it in a different circumstance, this isn't that, right? And we are adaptive enough to know that this isn't that. So we are looking at, well, when this happened before, I didn't want it, I didn't like it, whatever. How can I like it now? Because this ain't that. You know what I mean? And it's like, this ain't that. And so we get to choose to re-script, right, our relationship with that sensation. We get to rewrite that for ourselves by putting ourselves in a situation where we are choosing, we are saying, you know, this is what my yes is, this is what my no is, this is what my edge is. These are my nonverbals. If you see me starting to tap out, and I trust you to be able to see me, that if you're doing breath play and I get to the point where I'm beyond my edge, I trust you to stop, right? So all of those things need to be in position in order for you to rewrite that script. You can't really do that in a situation where you still don't feel safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So consider you was doing breath play again with somebody and you don't really trust them. That's going to be more difficult to rewrite that narrative because you're still going to be on guard. You know what I mean? And so you have to be in a position where you are willing to surrender in order to have that script be rewritten. And if you like it, I'm like, okay, if we think about the logistics of breath play, you know, and why that can enhance the orgasm, why wouldn't you crave that? A more intense orgasm. Shit, it makes sense to me. You know what I mean? It's like, why wouldn't you? It makes sense. You know, you need to be careful with that type of thing because, you know, all of the things that could potentially go wrong. But at the end of the day, if you are doing something from a place of awareness, you're doing something from a place of, you know, the potential consequences, then, you know, we grown. Do what the fuck you want to do.
Listen, period. And you know what? And that, of course, that makes sense because I can think of a very specific time. I know when I was first starting to go to dungeons, I was in that relationship with a person I did not trust, and we did wax play, and I hated it. I hated the experience. I hated the whole situation. And in the past couple of years, I've been like, you know what? I wonder if I should try it again because I do recognize that I didn't have a huge part of why I did not have a good experience is because I was tense the whole time. I wasn't relaxed because I ain't trust that fool as far as I could throw him, and that motherfucker was over 400 pounds, so I couldn't throw him nowhere. So, like, and that ain't fat shaming. I'm just telling y'all the truth. Right. And so I did not trust that man at all. And so it's so I definitely understand that because that's one of the things I'm like, I definitely want to revisit it because I genuinely feel like a huge part of why I did not enjoy that experience is because it was with someone I did not trust. And it's interesting also because I've had conversations with friends. I have a lot of friends that like to confide in me about a lot of different things. And I've had moments where I've definitely wanted to encourage someone to try BDSM or kink, but I also am like, I don't know if that is, you know, because I'm not, yes, I do sexual health education. Yes, I will advocate for this. I even put out a journal with prompt questions where I've talked to, you know, because when I dropped the journal, what's this, 2026? So at that point, I think I had been in the game for like 14 years. So I really just put in a lot of questions of me that I've had with different clients, helping them get through their shame when it comes to kink, sex in general, fetishes, all the things. Because at the end of the day, like you said, especially Black women, we carry a lot of shame. And a lot of that has to do with how we were raised, the you know, Christian culture, especially baby, I was raised in the Bible Belt. I am a Mississippi girl. So when I understand that whole thought process, and I know the work I had to do to get past the shame of it, and just, you know, being okay with the things I like. Because my biggest thing that I always tell my clients is like, don't nobody got to know what you do behind closed doors but you and that person.
True.
Like that's one of the biggest things because they it's always like this sense of what if someone finds out. Do you trust the person you're doing this with? If you trust them, then you should trust that they're going to also keep, not necessarily even like secrecy, but that they're just going to respect the bubble that you all created of this safety. that, you know, that shouldn't get out. Ultimately, back to what I was trying to get to, because I will go on a tangent. But the point that I'm trying to get to is in working with someone, when do you find suggesting something like kink or BDSM is okay, or is it a situation of you allowing them to bring the option to you?
Well, so I've created therapeutic BDSM. So therapeutic BDSM is a modality for people who want to potentially engage in BDSM and kink as a way to get back in the body, as a form of like somatic experiencing, but it's included in your therapy. And so if someone, like, I'll ask them, are you interested in different types of sensation? Right? I don't just have to be like, you want to try kink BDSM? Right? It's like, are you interested, you know, in different types of sensation? What have you already been doing? Right? You know? Okay, cool. I would want to ask them about their attachment styles. Like, what does their relational style look like? Do you prefer to be in charge? Do you prefer not to be in charge? Are you someone who likes, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't? So now I'm thinking about, do you dom, sub, switch? You know what I mean? I'm thinking about all these things. It's like, and then once we begin to have the conversation, because most people who come to me know what the fuck I do, right? I'm probably going to bring it up. And just see what are they willing to explore. Like BDSM and kink doesn't have to be you jump in the damn deep end, right? You put your little toe in, right? You can just simply go and get tickled. You know what I mean? You can go and just have your hands tied, right? There's so many ways to come into the space that's not intimidating, right? But people in general are intimidated based off culture, the shit they see. You know what I mean? It's gonna be whips, chains, blood, blah, blah. You know, and it's like, maybe, but not necessarily, right? You know? You ain't got to do all that, but you could, you know. And so just letting them know that there are options, right? And that they get to choose their adventure, you know. And so I think part of it is people even being willing to admit that they want to have an adventure, right? Because like you said, the shame and everything else, like, ooh, I get to want this? Yes, baby, you do. It's okay, you know. And I think that's the first thing, is creating a space where they feel safe enough to even give themselves permission to consider doing something like that. Yeah.
I think that was one of my favorite things. I haven't consulted in a good little while. Every now and then I still come across situations. Dave says that's such an enjoyable perception of what kink is. Such an annoying perception. It really is. Because my headphones died. It's fine. It is very annoying because the first thing somebody wants to say, you mean like on 50 Shades of Grey? First off, 50 Shades of Grey is not the best example of BDSM. I don't care how you look at it.
Yeah.
It genuinely is not. But also it's like, I don't have to make you bleed. Like, I mean, if you want me to push you to your limits, I'm more than happy to do so. But no, that's not, like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
And then also a lot of times in conversation, I've been like, you do realize that you've done some form of kink or BDSM. I guarantee you. They'd be like, no, I haven't. I was like, you have you ever smacked somebody on the ass or received a smack on the ass? Impact. Like it literally is that simple. It's like, it doesn't have to be this outrageous situation at all, you know. But having those conversations, and then also getting a person to realize that they have permission to want these things, to desire these things. It doesn't make them weird. It doesn't mean something's wrong with them or anything like that. Has always been one of my favorite things when working with someone. Just to get them to, like, I'm not, first off, because I tell them, even when I was, you know, selling sex toys and stuff, I'm like, baby, at the end of the day, if you buy it, you buy it. If you don't, you don't. I want you to walk away knowing that your pleasure is important.
Yes. And
that you have every right to ask for whatever it is that you desire, from whether it's from yourself or from your partner. You have every right to enjoy that. And I remember one of my favorite clients, I will never forget this lady. She was, at the time, she had to be, if I remember correctly, she was like in her late 50s, early 60s. Had been married for like 40 years. Never had an orgasm. Because she came up in an era where sex was about pleasing your husband and making babies.
Yep.
And that was it. And the realization that she had after the party, and we sat down in the ordering room where it was just she and I, and having a conversation. That was the moment that it changed from I'm selling sex toys to, oh, I can genuinely make an impact in somebody's life. That was the moment that it clicked for me. But yeah, so all that to say, I've always, like, every now and then, depending on how well I know the person, I will make the suggestion about learning, and I always send people to go read and things like that first, because that was genuinely the path I took. I don't know where it's at. I have a binder, and not like one of the little skinny binders. It's probably like one of the 2-inch binders full of documentation about terminology and the history and like all the things. And yes, I went through and I've read all this stuff.
I love that.
Do I remember every single thing? No, but I still have it as a reference point, because with an arena that I feel can be beneficial to all, but it's tends to be dominated by a minority of people who already tend to make you feel excluded. I feel it's very important to have the knowledge about things to share. And then I also think with knowing things, I can also understand better how to adapt to my needs and to somebody else who kind of looks like me or is in the same type of boat as me. Because it's just certain things. Like, if I were ever, I doubt I would ever do this, but if I was ever in a space of play with someone of a different race or color, it's just certain things that I would probably be okay with a black man or a black woman doing to me, that I don't know if I would be okay with a white man or a white woman doing to me.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. So what things are you thinking of?
I ain't gonna hold you. Impact play just seem real. I'll be like, I don't know if I'm now, if you want me to do it to you, I'm totally fine with just about everything. But the receiving part of it, there's a huge part of me. But now I also realize that that's not, yes, it is about the historical aspect of it, but there's also a part of me, because I am a switch, there's also a part of me that I have a really hard time relinquishing control to someone.
Got it.
So if we get to a point where I'm okay with you being the person topping, you better praise to the good Lord above, because that is a miracle. Because I am the first person to say, you finna do what to who? Okay, sir, I will have you in some very compromising positions trying to figure out how you got here. Please leave me be. If you think you finna come over here and do anything, especially because as soon as you make me feel like there's a challenge afoot, I am here for it. But yeah, so I found it such an interesting journey of just learning all of these things, but also finding individuals like yourself and being able, because I can be brash sometimes, and I might not have all the proper terminology, but I love being able to have these conversations with someone such as yourself, who has the education and everything else to expound on a lot of the things that I'm thinking, or that I'm feeling, or that I've experienced, or that I want to share in a way that makes it understandable for everybody. Because sometimes I say stuff and people be like, Irene, I'm like, you don't get what I'm saying. I don't know how to say it. And one thing I definitely wanted to get a little bit of a better understanding about is, when you mentioned the trauma is a gateway and kink is a bridge. Now, is this something that you've published? Because the way it came in, it almost sounded like either you wrote a paper, you did a presentation, or you wrote a book or something of that nature. That's the one thing that I was trying to also understand.
So it's one of the classes in my program where I teach therapists, educators, coaches, sex therapists, whatever, for professionals, people who want to hold professional place for kink folks. I have a certification called, it's the Education is Power and Praxis. The certification is called Certified Culturally Competent Kink Professional. And in that program, there are 10 classes. One of those classes is Trauma as a Gateway, Kink as a Bridge, where I talk about the correlation between people who have trauma and what that can look like in their relationship to kink. Because as professionals, we need to know how to hold space for those people, right? We need to be able to know how to work with them as a clinician, as an educator, as a coach, or whatever the case may be. You need to know how to work with that material. So we go into that. So that's where that title comes from. It's the title of one of my classes. I'm actually doing a pop-up training because everybody like, oh, I want that class. I want that class. I'm like, I know y'all not about to spend $3,000 for this damn program to get to the class. So let me go ahead and help you out. Unless you do, unless you will, which I'm okay with. Like, come on, right?
She's like, listen, if you want the whole thing, come on with it. But if somebody
like, let me not be negative. Maybe you will. But I'm doing a pop-up training for the community to make it more accessible, strip down some of the jargon and all of the things. And it's more so to do a little bit of teaching and to create a space to have some conversation, right? Like, let's really talk about what this looks like, how it shows up, how people were affected by the title, right? Because it was hitting people. People's like, oh shit. I'm like, right. Like, let's get into it, and so that's where it came from. People trying to get me to write a book. I'm like, look, I got 4 other damn things out there already. Go find them shit. I'm writing nothing else. I might write another book. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's where it came from.
Okay. Now, as far as this, would this be a virtual training? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it will be virtual. So regardless of where you are in the world, baby, y'all can tap in.
Yep. August 29th, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Period. And some of y'all need to tap in for yourself, not even just for the knowledge you're sharing with other people.
I'm just saying.
Listen, I'm just calling a spade a spade because I'm out here in this dating pool and some of y'all need help. It is treacherous out here. But, and of course, I'm assuming your website, that's where people can find the registration for it, or?
Yeah, damn, where did I put that?
I will make sure there is a link to it in the description for y'all, okay?
Yeah, it's on Instagram because that's where I was getting all the feedback, and it's on TikTok in a link. But yes, let me add it to my damn website. I will do that when I get off here.
Okay. Awesome. No, because I just want people to be able to easily go to it, but I'll make sure to also put the link for it in the description as well. So what else would you love for the people to know before we wrap up and I let you go on about your day?
Right. So I told her that was like, you probably saw me saying my damn 18-year-old texting me like, girl, I told you I was gonna be in a meeting, leave me alone. So I'm busy. What else would I want people to know? Like, when I think about all of this, I want people to understand that kink is important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is you, right? You as the person. And so what I really teach is the human who happens to be kinky, right? I don't want my kink to be the most interesting motherfucking thing. You think about me, right? Like, it's cute. Like, ooh, you do what? You do it with who? How often do you do it? Like, do you even know my name? Why you asking about all my kinky shit? Like, who am I outside of my kink? And that's one of the things I'm really working to help people who are in the community, work with the community, is that you get to be more than just your kink, right? You know what I mean? And your kink identity, whatever, can be a part of you. It can be even a big part of you, but it doesn't have to consume you. It doesn't have to be all of you. And people need to recognize that that's not the only thing that is interesting to know about you. So that's my thing. I want people to feel seen, heard, and understood. And I feel like as a people, as a species, I would hope that we can all agree that we want that shit, right? If we can't agree on anything else, hopefully we can agree that we would like to be seen, heard, and understood. And that's where my work is really rooted in, by having these conversations that other people might consider taboo or, it's shameful. It don't have to be, you know what I mean? Like, we just get to talk about it. And so that's what I do. And I want to invite other people to really be brave and allow themselves to be fully themselves, right? And let some of this shit go, whether or not it was trauma that stopped you from showing up fully, to forgive yourself, right? Not for the fact that you think you've done something wrong, but because you forgot who the fuck you are. Forgive yourself for that, period.
Listen, that's a word in itself right there. A word. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Well, I'll make sure that all her information is linked in the description box. so that y'all can make sure, please, y'all tap in, go follow her. I did scroll through your page and there was some dope information on there. And thank you so much, because baby, this was short notice, y'all. I saw the video last week, reached out to, hey, are you willing to talk about this? So
I got a cool thing to do this. We can squeeze in around this time. We can make it happen.
Right. So hopefully we can definitely revisit this in the future. I'll also link the information to the trauma informed kink guide as well for you all. But yeah, thank you so much for this. Y'all know me, Irene the Passion Queen. If I'm on the platform, y'all can find me as such. And all the things, y'all know, everything will be linked in the description box down below. Thank y'all so much, and thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing night.
All right, y'all. Bye.